Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, sXeblues. This is going to be a brief little set of reviews for some DC Comics New 52 issues that I've picked up recently, and we're going to be starting this one off with Detective Comics number 3. We begin this issue right where we left off in issue number 2, with Batman now confronted with new baddie on the block, the Dollmaker, and the Dollmaker subsequently shoving a body in Batman's face that for all intents and purposes resembles that of Jim Gordon. But as Batman soon realizes, it's not Jim Gordon at all, but a mixed match of body parts and flesh carvings from corpses that the Dollmaker has molded together simply to look like Jim Gordon. But as Batman's realizing this, he's also beginning to realize that in his brief little mixer, if you will, with the chief henchwoman of the Dollmaker, that she's actually drugged him with a nerve-numbing agent, and half his body has already gone numb. So of course he knows he's got to get out of the situation. The Dollmaker sticks a couple of his hoods on him, and he's got to duke it out with them, noting the progress of the numbing, and he just barely manages to escape, taking one of the henchmen, Jack in the Box, with him, just as the police are arriving on the scene. So shortly thereafter, we catch up with the real Jim Gordon, as it were, who's being held in a cell in the rundown, abandoned Gotham Mercy Hospital. And as it turns out, he's not there alone. He's actually joined by the missing girl from the previous 2 issues, Olivia. And but the thing is, while she's there, she's not actually being held or harmed, as it were, because the Dollmaker, air quotes, wants to adopt her into his family, whatever that means. So she desperately wants to reach Batman some way, and convinces Gordon to help her because, of course, she believes Batman to be the only one who can come and save Gordon. Meanwhile, we see that Batman is beating Jack in the Box to a bloody pulp in an attempt to make him talk, and noting that he seems nearly immune to every one of his blows. And shortly thereafter, he actually finds out that, in fact, Jack in the Box has no tongue to do any talking with. And as that's unfolding, we catch up with Sergeant Bullock of the Gotham Police Department, who, upon his return to the department, is actually inundated with a bunch of questions from roving reporters, one of which turns out to be the female reporter from issue number 2 that, for lack of a better term, had some private time with Bruce Wayne in his office. She's questioning along the lines of whether the body the police have found is that of Jim Gordon, as it was found at the scene where Batman and the Dollmaker had their little bout. And that seems to be the tack that all the reporters are taking, which is a little bit of a head-scratcher to me. How'd they get that information? But we follow Bruce back to the Batcave, and he begins to use his detective's reasoning to figure out that the Dollmaker is actually the son of a serial killer that he recalls from when he was a boy, a Wesley Mathis, Barton Mathis being the son transformed into the Dollmaker, and the subsequent kidnapping of Gordon may be to do with the fact that a young Jim Gordon is the one who killed the father of this Barton Mathis. So shortly after that, Batman then realizes, the bat signal's been activated. He goes out and he finds Olivia, there waiting for him with a little note scrawled by Jim Gordon. And in a cool little spin in how the note is written, it's actually a signal to Batman that not everything is quite what it seems. And I really love that. And but the issue basically ends after Bats has gone back to Mercy Hospital, hoping to save Gordon. He's subsequently knocked out, and as he comes to, he begins looking around and is in fact facing something of a new horrifying set of circumstances that I don't want to ruin for you here. But as far as showing a page in this issue, I want to go with that sort of goofy, dumbfounded grin on Jack in the Box's face when Batman realizes he has no tongue. So, overall, I really enjoyed this issue. I'm loving Detective more than I really thought I would. It's definitely nostalgia and just a great mystery unfolding. And overall, I'm going to be rating this 4 out of 5. So that'll get us moving on to Dark Knight number 2. We begin this issue shortly after we left off in issue number 1 with a supersized hulking Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, suddenly debuted to Batman. And now as we open this issue, Batman is basically having his ass handed to him by this gigantic Harvey. And but as it turns out, Batman just barely manages to get out of it alive when, for no apparent reason at all, Harvey's eyes actually start to bleed out and he falls to the ground unconscious. And so, it mystifies Batman. But he has a little powwow with Jim Gordon up on the rooftop, as they usually do. And, Batman brings up this white rabbit chick that he's seen and some criminals in Arkham have claimed seeing. And Gordon basically just dismisses it. He, thinks it's a bunch of malarkey. But he does reveal that the internal affairs dog, Forbes, who was introduced in issue number 1, has actually been dogging him and insinuating that, Gordon's a bad cop and everything like that. And basically he feels like Batman is the only friend he can count on at the moment. And much akin to, Batman Begins in that one scene. Just as he reveals this, of course, Batman is nowhere to be found. So at this point, Batman basically confirms with Alfred that the blood sample they took from Harvey has, similarities to the Scarecrow's fear toxin, and that's a line of, detecting that he reserves to go down at a later point. Meanwhile, we see spread across different areas of Gotham, everyone from Robin to Nightwing, Batgirl, the Birds of Prey, and Batwoman are all being confronted by their own various giant Hulk-sized foes who are trying to, kill them. Batman at some point goes to question Two-Face in the hospital, and that basically amounts to nothing. It isn't until Alfred catches up with him again that he lets him know the White Rabbit chick has been actually spotted on a commuter train, which is reported to be taken over by the Joker. So, of course, following that line, Batman catches up with the train, and once inside, he actually finds a bunch of the Joker's henchmen seemingly taken out by the Joker himself, which is sort of mystifying. But he does catch up with the White Rabbit chick, who, she's very fast, almost Flash-level fast, sort of unexpectedly. She's like teasingly, come follow me, catch up to me type of thing. And she goes down a whole, railway car before Batman can even get to the door. But soon thereafter, we're debuted to the cliffhanger ending that I don't want to spoil for you here because it's definitely yet another WTF. And but as far as showing a page in this issue, I love the detail on Harvey's face when Batman's gone back to the hospital to interrogate him, and just the bright, vibrant purple and everything. And overall, I'm actually going to be rating this issue a 4 out of 5. I thought it was an increased mark up in quality and just overall story from the first issue, which I really wasn't all that impressed with. So, but that's actually going to be moving us on to Superboy number 3. This issue opens up not too long after issue number 2, with Superboy now relating to us how curious he is of the outside world now that he's seemingly escaped the clutches of Templar and the sect that he controls N.O.W.H.E.R.E. And but all the while we're actually bearing witness to this mysterious couple who are in a convenience store chatting over a bag of candy, and whether the clerk will ring it up. And but then we're suddenly seeing that everyone in the convenience store, all their heads have exploded into flames, sort of like Atomic Skull or something. And presumably these two teenagers have had something to do with it. They make off with a cop car, and we actually see then where Superboy is. He's actually like a mile underground after the prison escape sort of failed and went up in an explosion. And he's completely being swallowed up by lava, and curious about his powers and things like that. And but he's realizing that he's actually controlling the powers to a degree. It's it's hot to the touch, but it's not burning through him. And at that point, we catch up with Templar, Rose, and the chick known as Red, who all have basically come to the agreement that Superboy wasn't ready for any of this. This was something Templar himself didn't believe up until now. But Rose is in fact also upset with her own performance, and intriguingly, in a sort of interesting scene, we find out that she and Red can communicate psionically. This is a total WTF head scratcher to me, signaling there is much more to this chick Red than meets the eye. But soon thereafter, sort of upset with the situation, Rose makes her unexpected exit off the back of this airship, and we catch back up with Superboy, who's actually making his debut, as it were, through the ground under a couple who are kind of taking a romantic time out in the middle of the desert, and the ground comes crashing up, thrusting out all around them, and the dude of the couple ends up scared out of his mind, whereas the chick is actually kind of flirty with Superboy at first, and he basically, trying to be polite, asks can he take her home, and as they arrive in mid-sentence of her saying she has a curfew, she totally wigs out because he's like super speed jumped her back to where she lived, and she starts berating him, and suddenly the fountain that they landed nearby seems to take on a life of its own and grabs Superboy and completely wigs him out. He breaks free now that he knows how to better control his powers a little bit, and we see a new threat in the form of this sort of hulking, orange glowing alien chick who, according to her, can smell his spliced DNA, his Kryptonian human, and she hints around to there being more to it, which is kind of intriguing. But she comes to believe that it's her God-given purpose to be there right at that moment to destroy him because of the tremendous threat he possesses. And but suddenly, with a screech, she falls and melts away, and he doesn't even understand what happened. He thinks maybe he did something, but he's basically completely dumbfounded and manages to find his way back to nowhere, where he basically plans on confronting Red with all these new questions that he has, and because of course he's suspecting that there's more to do with his history. Perhaps he's suspecting there's more to do with her, as we, the reader, now will be. And, I'm going to leave it basically there because the rebuttal, if you will, is pretty astounding in this cliffhanger. So, but, as far as showing a page in this issue, I want to go with the debut of this new giant hulking orange molten alien woman who remains nameless and, seemingly is only there for a few minutes. In the time span of the issue, and but otherwise I'm going to be rating this 4 out of 5 because again, this is another title that I've been really impressed with issue to issue so far, and enjoying it, and this new take on Superboy's mythos and everything. And but that's pretty much going to be it for this particular set of reviews. So I will catch y'all next time. Peace.